The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, July 21st, and today is National Lamington Day, which is apparently an Australian dessert. It's also National Junk Food Day, and it is also National Be Someone Day. Oh, yeah, because, everyone wants to be someone. That's right. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. Use that fancy little QR code right there in the top-hand corner of your screen to see where we live on the internet. We're live every Monday through Friday on YouTube and audio only on Twitter Spaces. And you can also participate in the show on Twitter Spaces by raising your hand if you have a brief comment on the story most recently presented. But without further ado, I have the Dope Dad, that's right, in studio with me today. Oh yeah, in the building, the Dope Dad himself. The babysitting duty must be done for the day because he managed to make it all the way over here. That's right, it is the Dope Dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Can I get some applause, man? Come on, bruh. Thank you, Jason. What's happening, everybody? It is hot in here in the studio, and it's not just the best weed in the world. It's just actually really, really hot. So apologize for the profuse sweating, but we out here. My story today, it's a sad one for some, but for me, I told y'all so. My name is Rico, and I am a Cancer. As we begin today's show, knowing that it'll sadly be the last that we're going to do for Cancer season of 2023, I just want to give a shout out and happy birthday to my fellow Cancers out there who've celebrated so far this June and July, but also to the ones turning up today and tomorrow. It's the official end of our time. We Cancers are emotional creatures, passionate. We live for the emotional extremes. Generally, after the highs experienced celebrating our yearly trips around the sun, you can expect us to turn back down, back into our shells to close out the summer depressed every single year. And the worst part about being a Cancer as a kid was the fact that our birthdays were in the summer. Never got to experience cupcakes in class. No teachers giving us shout outs or letting us flex in front of other students. No special birthday privileges to leave class early like all the lesser zodiac signs and birthdays during the school year got. We had to organize our birthday parties around other kids' summer vacations, camp schedules, or whatever the hell those parents out there had planned for the kids out the house and get them out of the house in the summer. So summer sucked. But y'all know what the absolute worst... Y'all know the absolute worst gift that you can give a 10-year-old Cancer? To all the parents out there? The promise that you're going to celebrate their special day in the fall when school's back in session. And that's exactly what our Do Nothing Congress is telling us that we can collectively do on the celebration of 10 years of the anniversary since the introduction of the first version of what is now known as the Safe Banking Act. Sorry, kid. We got to focus on these here summer vacay plans. That's right. According to Marijuana Moments, Kyle Yeager, a key Senate chairman, says that a bipartisan marijuana banking bill will not get a committee upmark next week. markup next week, according to an advocate who spoke with him, meaning that it will not be addressed during the summer session. Forget what y'all heard. We tied, boss. Lobbyist Don Murphy and the Marijuana Leadership Campaign said Thursday that he spoke to Senate Banking Committee Chairman Sherrod Brown of Ohio and told him that his panel will not be voting on safe banking before the start of recess beginning July 31st. As Jason's favorite president would say. Sad. Murphy told Marijuana Moment that he posed the question to Brown as the senator was leaving a hearing Thursday, jokingly asking whether he should make vacation plans early or if safe banking would be receiving a markup next week before lawmakers leave town for the summer. After the end of this month, the Senate isn't scheduled to return until September 5th. Somebody give me a miniature violin. So I can play. You got that, Jason? Murphy told Marijuana Moment. Oh. The disappointing news indeed. It's disappointing news indeed for advocates and stakeholders previously hyped up on the words of Senate Majority Leader and man with enough confidence to wear his glasses like an elementary school librarian, Chuck Schumer, who included the cannabis legislation in a list of legislative priorities for the summer session. But that's y'all's boy. Per the article, Brown himself said early June that he hoped to hold a markup of the bill in the next 2 or 3 weeks, but more recently, there have been signs that senators had reached a temporary impasse over the bill, with Brown insisting GOP sponsor Senator Steve Daines find more Republicans to formally co-sponsor the measure. So whose fault is it? Daines said Republicans were ready to act on safe banking as introduced. The holdup is disagreement over this one section of the bill that concerns broader banking regulations. Certain Democrats did push to remove or alter Section 10, but one senior GOP staffer told Marijuana Moment that doing so would be a non-starter for Republicans. Not to say I told y'all so, but I did. It's just more government bureaucracy on the right and left, wasting more of our time with shiny objects. Y'all keep thinking that'll actually move on. Burn it down. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News, and I've been done told y'all safe banking was a distraction. But I want to hear from Jason. What you think about this, man?
Well, I mean, in all reality, this is something that Gretchen reported on just on Wednesday, saying that safe banking wasn't going to go up for a vote before the summer, and it wasn't going to be until the fall that we had a vote. And am I correct on this, Gretchen?
Gretchen's a sage, and she's usually right. I'm just calling you right.
Thank you, Rico Lamitte. And I was actually there. Spoke with Chairman Brown. I was with Dawn all day yesterday as we were hitting the hill looking for some sponsors, because what has happened in the Safe Banking Act, when you're looking for someone to blame, it would be the good old Democrats. I know you don't want to believe that, Rico Lamitte, but hold on.
Yeah, I agree
hold
with
on and hear me with what they want. This is what these guys want now. All right.
They move the goalposts.
So, they always move the goalposts. That's their favorite thing, is moving goalposts, because they can't actually kick field goals, so they just keep moving the goalposts all around.
We need some soccer players in there, Gretchen. You gonna come help them out?
Here's the deal. So what they are concerned about now, besides Section 10, because that's their issue, is they would like Republicans to pick up another co-sponsor, because even though we have 8 co-sponsors on the Republican side, they are saying that they are concerned that if they bring it for a vote, that we are just going to filibuster it and make them look stupid. And so we say, you're idiots. We're not going to filibuster. So now they want another sponsor. So that is what me and Dawn were out there doing yesterday, talking to Republicans, trying to get another co-sponsor onto the bill. And we have many good but this wasn't an issue before. Neither was Section 10. But, oh, wait. It looks like this can actually pass, so Democrats are going to put up the roadblocks. This is pretty normal. So that's what you can expect from Congress.
I got a fair question, though.
Mark my words. Don Murphy and I will get you another co-sponsor before the end of August recess, and we are going to do this damn thing. And I don't care what you say. SAFE is going to get a vote.
Bullshit. Here, I got a fair question, though.
Going to get a vote.
I got a fair question. Was it not the Republicans are moving the goalposts last time? It's always one side or the other.
No. Why did the Republicans move it last time? What are you talking about?
Because they didn't want to help out any people of color. They didn't want anything in there that was close to social
I'm
equity.
sorry, but
That
that
was-
is
that was-
the
that was-
Republican. Hold on, the Republicans have never said that they wanted to help people of color. So I don't suggest. How are you saying that we are moving the goalpost?
Yeah.
We've never said, "Yay, we're helping," and then no, we're not. That's not our deal.
And
We've never wanted to help.
And if
Our goal is to get.
Wasn't that the reason?
legalization.
Wasn't that the reason why it hasn't passed? Like the many times.
no. The reason it didn't pass last time is because
didn't
Cory Booker wanted to grandstand and say, "Oh no, we're not going to pass a bill for white men and
He did not
banks
say
and
that.
this." And
He didn't
did
say
say
that.
that. Yes,
No,
he did.
he didn't say
Yeah,
what
he
he
did. Yeah, he was going to die on the hill before. Exactly. So it is the Democrats' fault the safe banking hasn't passed.
See, this was wrong with y'all. Y'all pointing fingers. It's the right or the left. Like, nah.
Pointing fingers.
Like,
All
I'm just
saying is
picking
that's
on what's
why
real.
it has not come up is because Democrats are now saying, whoa. You guys need more co-sponsors.
Yep,
All right,
exactly.
fine. We'll get you more co-sponsors. Whoa. Section 10, which was agreed upon by both sides a month ago, all of a sudden, no, we can't deal with that anymore. You got to change it. This is Democrats changing the goalpost.
Did the article not
All this
say
was agreed
that
upon.
several?
What?
Did the article not say that several Democrats were down to shift their position, and the Republicans are the ones that did not have enough sponsors at the end of the day? Isn't that what Kyle Yeager said in the article?
What are you talking about?
In the article, Kyle Yeager,
Yeah.
he said that it was the Democrats were actually willing to do to shift their position to get it done.
Kyle Yeager probably doesn't know what he's talking about in regards on this one.
I don't know what you're talking about. So
Read
if
the
we
article.
get one more, I don't need to read the article. Rico
Exactly,
Lamitte. I live
exactly.
it. I'm
'Cause
there.
facts don't matter.
Who do you think
Facts don't
told
matter
Kyle
with
Yeager what was
Republicans.
going on? Because it ain't Kyle Yeager running around the hill.
Yep,
It ain't him.
When the
exactly.
narrative does not fit Republicans' own, facts do
What are
not
you talking
matter.
about? All right.
Facts
If
don't
you
matter.
add up the numbers
Okay.
of sponsors
Add
that
'em
we
up.
have for this bill,
Uh-huh.
and there is no filibuster, this will pass with a simple majority vote.
Exactly.
No problem.
Mm-hmm.
But now they're like, well, you might. So please go get more co-sponsors. Fine. We'll do it because we know that Chuck Schumer can't whip his fucking Democrats into line and get all of his people to vote for this bill.
You know what? This is a time where I like to
He ain't got
remind
no
people.
power.
I like to remind people I'm a big fan of slides and not flip flops because Republicans are all about
I'm
the
not
flip flop.
flip-flop. There's zero flip-flops.
There's no
We
there's
have
no
been
difference.
standing our ground
There's a
since day
difference.
one.
There's no
this
difference.
is what we want.
There's a difference between
There's
slides
no
and
difference.
flip-flops.
There's no
You know the
difference.
difference? Flip-flops have thongs.
No. There's no difference between a flip flop and a slide. There is no difference.
Flip-flops have thongs on
There
them,
is just
Jason.
some flip flops that have thongness in them. That's about it. And we're going to go to a commercial and we're going to
Jason
be right
Beck,
back.
Cisco of the cannabis industry.
Mm-hmm.
Thong.
How's it going, guys? Saman Razani coming to you from Green Street here with Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast available on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify? Tune in now and check it out.
Y'all know who it is. Is the man, the myth, the legend. Known for smoking the best weed in the world. He's the longest continuously operating retailer in the world. But also an avid fan of thong sandals, a.k.a. flip-flops.
No, I can't wear those.
Here to represent another zombie safe banking bill, Jason Beck.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, you know what? My story takes us down to sunny Florida today. Because yesterday there was some interesting things going on because adult use backers urged the Florida Supreme Court for approval. That's right. Supporters of an effort to allow adult use cannabis by people aged 21 and older urged the Florida Supreme Court on Wednesday to sign off on a proposed constitutional amendment for the 2024 ballot. A brief filed by lawyers for Smart and Safe Florida, a political committee sponsoring the initiative, assailed arguments by Attorney General Ashley Moody aimed at keeping the proposal off the ballot. They described her arguments as thinly veiled policy agenda in quotation marks. Moody last month filed a brief contending the Supreme Court should reject a measure, saying it is misleading to voters in several respects. The sponsor's attorneys, however, said they relied on the court's own roadmap in rulings about recent marijuana-related inactivities to craft the current proposal. In a quote, but the Attorney General and the other opponents now argue that this court should abruptly redraw the map. Where is that sound coming from? Zaza, you got to. The Attorney General's lead argument that this court should discard 3 of its recent precedents that the expressly encourage ballot sponsors to use as blueprints for drafting future initiatives. The Attorney General has given so far as to suggest that this court should abandon the differential standard of review that has constantly applied to the ballot initiatives for decades, essentially arguing that this court committed legal error in dozens of decisions and that it should invent a new, more inherent standard for discarding precedent, Wednesday's brief said. The court twice ruled that the previous initiatives aimed at authorizing adult use of cannabis did not meet the constitutional muster. Under the Florida Constitution, ballot initiatives must be confusing to voters and must address a single subject, they say. The Smart and Safe Florida Committee has submitted more than nearly 900,000 petition signatures required to get the adult use of marijuana initiative on the ballot, and Trulieve, the state's largest medical marijuana operator, has contributed nearly $40 million to the effort. Court approval is the last hurdle for the initiative to be placed on the 2024 ballot, and the proposed ballot summary in part says the measure would allow adults 21 and over to possess, purchase, and use marijuana products and marijuana accessories for non-medical consumption. In a brief filed June 26, lawyers for Moody's office said the summary is incorrect and misleading because marijuana remains illegal under federal law. And in previously approving similarly worded ballot summaries, the court erred that the state's lawyers argued, but the sponsor's brief Wednesday said the court should reject these misguided efforts to jettison established legal rules in services of a thinly veiled policy agenda. The sponsor's lawyers noted that the court twice allowed medical marijuana proposals to appear on the ballot in 2014, and medical marijuana initiative failed to garner 60% of voter approval required for passage, but voters overwhelmingly approved a similar measure 2 years later. The court in 2021 rejected an adult use marijuana initiative in part because the ballot summary failed to address the federal law, and the summary could have voters to believe the proposal would have eliminated federal penalties, the court found. Wednesday's brief said the Smart and Safe Florida proposal follows the court's guidance, and in drafting the President's Initiative, SSF Smart and Safe Florida has followed that clear roadmap. The brief said the initiative summary explains that the amendment applies to Florida law and does not change or immunize violations of federal law, tracking the language this court has already approved. Yet the Attorney General now asked the court to suddenly change course, holding that the language previously approved repeatedly and unanimously is no longer sufficient, despite the court's description of that language as the model for sponsors just 2 years ago. But the court's undergone a major shift in makeup and ideology since approving the medical marijuana initiatives in 2014 and 2015. Since taking office 2019, DeSantis secured a conservative majority on a 7-member court after mandatory retirements of longtime justices Peggy Quince and Barbara Patulence and R. Fred Lewis. The governor, who is running for president, has appointed 5 courts, 7 sitting justices. The court's holding of the Smart and Safe Florida proposal is drawing widespread attention as Americans grow more comfortable with the use of cannabis and medical and adult use purposes, and cannabis operators and investors are eager for Florida to the 3rd most populous state in the nation to join the nearly 24 states that have already authorized adult use. And this article just goes on and on and on, and I'm going to digress in the sake of time. With all of this, I want to hear what y'all have to say. This is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News Hour, and you can read the full article on our website.
I mean, okay.
You're on mute, Gretchen.
Jaja, can you hear us? Jaja, we can hear your TV.
You need to mute, Zaza. You need to mute.
Well, I think this
There
bill,
we go.
or I think it's the natural progression, right? Like, why would they not support? Why would they not urge them, the lawmakers? I don't really see how this is news.
Yeah. I mean, you don't see how this is news. Are you serious? The fact that they're going over there and lobbying the court in order to make sure that their ballot initiative is passed. You don't see how that's news? Are you serious? Do we need to wipe your glasses?
Yes, I do. But it's not like their safe banking lobbying is going anywhere. Why don't they just focus their efforts on Florida?
Safe banking lobby is going somewhere. I wouldn't say that at all. I think you definitely need to get a little wipey on your
Just
on
like
your
it has.
lenses over there.
Was it 8-9 times it's tried to get through?
It doesn't matter how many times it gets through. It's all about getting through, Rico.
All right, how about we get back to the story, Rico?
Yeah.
And
No,
for people who
that doesn't
actually
even
put their
matter.
feet on the ground in Washington, then they can bitch to me about how the lobbying efforts are going here.
Exactly.
Have they gone anywhere?
Oh, they're going. You think
going
that
somewhere,
we'd
for
be
sure.
anywhere at this point? Are you fucking kidding me?
I'm just saying. So I don't know. I don't have any opposition to this headline or to this story. I just think it is okay. Like, yeah, they're urging lawmakers to move forward on recreational. Like, why would they not support it?
Why would lawmakers not support it? Is that your question?
Why would they not be pushing the lawmakers in that direction? The recreational pot backers. Like, if they're already supporting cannabis or marijuana initiatives, like, why would they not urge
You obviously don't understand
Florida?
any of the context of this story, Rico.
Summarize the story.
Summarize the story is True Leave paid a whole bunch of lawyers to go and lobby the Supreme Court in there. Okay. And
Why
the
would
Attorney
they
General-
not? They already put $40 million into the ballot measure anyways.
That's what the article stated. Very good job, Rico. You get a prize.
Real trap shit.
No, seriously, this has been news. We covered this 3 weeks ago.
We did not cover this because this just happened on Thursday, Rico. So that couldn't have even been a possibility in reality.
With the $40 million that
The
they were backing
the
ballot
40 million
initiative.
was one sentence in the entire story, bro.
That's what I'm saying. That $40 million was
The 40
already proposed that they were going to be backing this. They were bankrolling the entire ballot initiative.
Everyone already knows this. We've reported this millions of times today.
Yes.
Why are you focusing on this one specific point?
Because you just brought that up.
That was in the article.
And I'm saying, like, we covered that. So how is this news?
That
we already
is
know
not,
that they're
that's
backing
not
them.
the article. The article is about the backers going into the Florida Supreme Court to make sure that it is able to actually be on the ballot. That is the point of the story. It has nothing to do with $40 million. $40 million is an anecdotal point of the article.
The story that we covered previously gives us context to why this is being done. Why would they not be doing what they're doing if they're putting that much money towards it?
Now I
Like I
agree
said,
with that. Yes, it is in
that's
their
why
best.
it's not
It
news.
is in their best interest. You're crazy, Rico. You're batshit crazy today.
I think. All right, you two, simmer down. I think, and Omar, I would love for an actual attorney to jump in on this court story. It would be nice.
Thank you.
I think what these folks are trying to do, Rico, is to suggest to them that what the Attorney General has proposed in Florida is wrong, and they put together a document to help him better understand the initiative that they are trying to do, and that it is, what are they calling this thing? Single
subject.
And so that it is a valid ballot initiative.
Correct.
And that it should move forward. That is the news of the day, is that they have put together this report.
And they use some of that $40 million to do that.
I don't know
No.
what they paid.
What I'm saying
to
is
do
follow
that.
the money. Like, yes, they were putting all this money into the controlling legislation.
We all already know this, bro. That's not new news. I don't understand why you keep focusing on this $40 million.
I don't understand how this
totally
headline
ridiculous.
is new news at all.
The headline has nothing to
The
do with
news is
$40
the
million.
report. The report, Rico.
Yes.
The news is the report.
Exactly.
They have submitted more evidence,
Mm-hmm.
a report to back up their argument.
Omar,
That's
do you
it.
have any thoughts on this, Omar?
Save us, Omar. there? Okay, I think what's happening is that Ron DeSantis' attorney general is trying to block the initiative
That
from
is
getting
correct.
on the ballot.
That's correct.
And they're trying to argue that it violates it's vague and confusing, violates the single subject rule.
Correct.
And it's really a political ploy aimed at preventing democracy from working in Florida. We know that Floridians want adult use cannabis. They don't want the monopoly or duopoly or whatever type of monopoly happening.
Cartels.
Triopoly, is that what it is?
There's cartels out there. There's government cartels.
Yes, and so basically, they filed a brief in opposition to the Attorney General's request to hold this initiative as unconstitutional, so it doesn't get on the ballot. Basically, the Florida Attorney General is trying to keep democracy from happening in Florida. And if we look at the extreme, culture wars that are happening in Florida, this is certainly something that they're trying to do because they're trying to keep the voters from voting. Imagine how many young people would turn out to vote if this were on the ballot. I think it's an effort aimed at stymieing democracy. And I think it only makes sense for people who spent $40 million trying to get an initiative on the ballot to defend it before the Florida Supreme Court, before it gets blocked by the Attorney General.
Omar, if Donald Trump ends up getting pushed out of the race and it's Ron DeSantis is the Republican nominee and he wins, what is that future look like?
You're speaking in way too crazy hypotheticals, bro. That's not even.
That's because you're pro-Trump.
That's just not even a reality, bro.
Let's do a hypothetical and assume that Dear Leader does not become the nominee of the Republican Party. If Dear Leader is out of the picture,
right,
I think Ron DeSantis will engage in more culture wars. And he really sees cannabis as part of the culture wars and as a way to turn out young Democrats. And so I think that Ron DeSantis does not want this to be on the ballot. He doesn't want young people to be engaged in politics. They want people to be turned off from politics and to think it's all a quagmire so that they can make the rules without democratic participation.
Jason?
I don't agree with a lot of that. I mean, the reality is that the only reason you even have flower available in Florida is because of Ron DeSantis. So I'm not buying a lot of that, but I understand how Omar feels in regards to that. And with that, we're going to keep it moving because we're short on time and we need to get over to Gretchen Gailey. She's the feisty redheaded conservative that loves to tell pot loving lives all about themselves and dress up their dogs up in fancy costumes and parade them all around Capitol Hill. And that's probably what she's going to be doing this weekend. That's right. It is none other than the Gretchen Gailey.
It's too hot to parade the dogs. And what will I be doing next week? I will be back on the Hill fighting for your rights, Rico Lamitte, which you don't fucking seem to respect. So
how don't I respect the?
You don't respect the fight.
I give.
My headline is Congressional Committee schedules hearing to press FDA on lack of CBD regulations next week as bipartisan lawmakers file bills to address the issue. A congressional committee has scheduled a hearing for next week focused on the FDA's refusal to enact regulations to allow for the marketing of hemp-derived CBD products. And bipartisan and bicameral lawmakers have separately reintroduced a bill to fill the regulatory gap. The House Oversight and Accountability Subcommittee on Healthcare and Financial Services scheduled the hearing titled Hemp in the Modern World, the years-long wait for FDA action. This will be taking place July 27th. Chairwoman Lisa McClain said in a press release on Thursday that the FDA has failed for far too long to do its job to ensure the safety of legalized hemp-derived products. Without these regulations, dangerous products could make their way to the shelves, while safe and credible CBD products could be prevented from entering the market. We are going to investigate why exactly the FDA has decided to ignore their regulation responsibilities related to CBD and other areas of jurisdiction. We need to ensure that the FDA is not setting what would be a dangerous precedent and using this as an opportunity to seek more authority and resources from Congress. Representative James Comer, who chairs the full committee, has sharply criticized FDA after the agency announced in January that it would not be developing CBD regulations, stating that there is not an available pathway to create such rules and it would require congressional action. To that end, Senators Ron Wyden, Rand Paul, and Jeff Merkley, along with Representatives Earl Blumenauer, separately filed legislation on Thursday that would remove regulatory barriers that the FDA claims prevents it from allowing CBD sales in the food supply or as dietary supplements. The Hemp Access and Consumer Safety Act, which was also introduced last Congress but did not advance, would exempt hemp-derived cannabidiol, or a substance containing any other ingredient derived from hemp from certain federal restrictions while permitting officials to enact labeling and packaging rules. Despite being legally grown in the United States for nearly 5 years, hemp and hemp-derived CBD are still in a regulatory gray zone that puts consumers at risk and holds producers back, said Wyden. The FDA says it needs Congress to act. We've got the bill to ensure equal and safe access to hemp-derived CBD. Merkley added that our hemp farmers need updated CBD regulations to thrive. FDA, get it done. Paul, for his part, said that CBD products and businesses have earned their recognition in the marketplace, but the FDA unfortunately hasn't treated them like any other food additive or dietary supplement. The Hemp Access and Consumer Safety Act directs the FDA to regulate hemp products properly and provide a huge relief to hemp farmers, processors, and merchants. Comer, meanwhile, said in April that his panel would be launching an investigation into the matter, and he requested that the FDA turn over documents related to its decision not to regulate the cannabinoid. Even before the agency made that decision, the congressman expressed his intent to address the lack of rules. Now lawmakers are gearing up to formally address FDA's inaction at the subcommittee hearing. Jonathan Miller, general counsel to the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, will be among those testifying at the meeting. The organization announced on Thursday, "I'm honored to serve as a witness for this historic hearing to testify to the extraordinary challenges faced by hemp farmers and CBD consumers over the past 5 years. I look forward to shedding light on the urgent need for clear regulations and ensure consumer safety and promote the growth of the hemp industry." I hope that Congress will hold these jagoffs to task. They seem to be going after every other agency out there for sucking at their jobs. So I don't see why Republicans won't hold back on the FDA. I hope the hammer comes down. This is Gretchen from High 9 News.
Oh, boy.
I love hearing you say that. Death to the FDA.
When did death to the FDA come out of my mouth?
Just now, technically.
If you take a hammer
I
to
said I
somebody's head.
hope they bring the hammer down.
You take
that
a hammer
does
to
not
somebody's
mean
head,
death to the
they
FDA.
dead.
It means start making some damn regs. You were told to do this over a year ago in legislation, and you jagoffs just ignored us. So let's do your fucking jobs. Why are we paying you? If you can't do anything, then dismantle it. Screw it.
Exactly.
Burn it to the ground.
Burn it up. Burn it down. You know the FDA is just going to make some terrible rules anyway once they finally do, and probably make all of your products illicit and not able to sell anymore.
Burn it down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think I'm
it's
hopeful that
difficult.
That's the roadblock. Yes, Dr. Talleyrand.
They're just in a difficult spot because they've already approved CBD as a pharmaceutical. And so that's just the path that they would have to take with any hemp-derived CBD as a pharmaceutical. And I think most of the stakeholders are wanting them to take a nutritional path to hemp rather than a pharmaceutical path to CBD.
Well, Dr. Talleyrand, I have a question for you. With the FDA continually saying their hands are tied, we don't have a pathway, is it really up to Congress to make that pathway? Why would it be up to guys who know nothing about science to determine the next pathway? Can't the FDA come out and say, this is how we're going to do it and create a new pathway?
No.
They can and they should. And I think that they seem to be planning to with the hire of a pro-cannabis guy. I think they did last year. I forget his name. So I think that they might be developing their own path, a separate path for cannabis. They haven't come out with it yet. And at this point, the only way you're going to put a cannabis product through the FDA is with an investigational new drug application, just like any other pharmaceutical. It's a 20-year process.
Yeah.
But why would they keep saying that they need Congress to do it?
Because they need Congress to do it the way they want it done, which is not through double-blind testing and the pharmaceutical path. You know, I think Congress wants it done in a way that currently does not exist under U.S. law, given existing precedent. I think Congress could pass a regulatory framework that allows for regulations that do not require double-blind testing and extensive pharmaceutical studies, but the current system framework does not allow for it. And I think that's why the FDA basically said, "You've blown our fuse. We're not able to process this."
Yep, and not to mention too, the FDA already holds drug preclusion on CBD with Epidiolex, and therefore all of these products are going to be deemed illicit ultimately at some point in time.
And THC for dronabinol.
Yep.
Marinol.
Yep, for Marinol. Yep, exactly right. And that's why any rescheduling will have dire consequences for the cannabis industry, as stated many times on this show.
The House always wins.
Yeah, that's right. We got the Gretchen eye roll, so that's how you know it's time for a commercial. We'll be right back.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe to the channel as well if you have not already. Also, too, make sure you share the show with your friends, because we here at High 9 News believe that organic growth is the best growth. Do you have another commercial, Adam? All right, run that.
Keeping up to date on the evolving policies of relevant state, local, and federal governments is key to success. When the future of your business is at stake, you need representation as dedicated as you are. With a maze of laws and regulations surrounding cannabis, hemp, and psychedelics, knowing where to begin can be a challenge. Good Thing the Law offices of Omar Figueroa features a skilled, highly focused team ready to guide you through it all. They're accepting new clients in California and New York. So make sure you check them out at info@omarfigueroa.com.
Up next, this legendary cannabis doctor is the founder of Medican and co-founder of CESC, and he knows more about Rex than a paleontologist. Coming to the stage, Dr. Jean Talleyrand.
Thanks, Rico. Happy Friday, everyone. My headline today is from Hemp Gazette, a Science Friday headline. Study, Medicinal Cannabis Use Benefiting Veterans by Stephen Gothrenet. The survey finds that cannabis use improved quality of life and reduced medication use by military veterans. It's estimated that 20% of the 19 million U.S. veterans have a mental illness or substance use disorder. Included are veterans with depression, anxiety, and PTSD. So this study, performed by researchers from the Cannabis Center of Excellence, the University of Utah, and the University of Massachusetts, analyzed survey data from 510 U.S. military participants. So there are two general approaches to research. The first uses inductive rationale to develop a hypothesis. You might remember 7th grade science, where you're given two different chemical substances and asked to write down your observations. Both substances are white, but one was powdery and clumped with moisture, while the other was crystal-like and dissolved with moisture. So you used your inductive rationale or power of observation to determine that the chemicals were different. Observational studies develop theories of hypotheses. The second approach to research uses deductive rationale to test the hypothesis developed from the first approach. In 7th grade, you might have proposed that the chemical substances tasted different and then put a little in your mouth to prove your hypothesis. Cannabis research is much the same. We're currently applying inductive rationale or observational study to develop theories. In this study, 91% of those surveyed reported that cannabis use improved their quality of life. 80% had fewer psychological symptoms. 73% had fewer physical symptoms. Furthermore, 21% reported using fewer opiates. 30% used fewer over-the-counter medicines, and 25% had reduced their antidepressants. Regarding lifestyle, 46% reported consuming less alcohol and 24% less tobacco. Even to a seventh grader, the hypothesis or scientific theory should be clear. It's already been demonstrated how cannabinoids, one of the active ingredients in cannabis, might reduce pain or improve moods. This study observes that cannabis use is associated with improved quality of life and fewer mental and physical symptoms. From this study, the authors have concluded that medical cannabis use among veterans plays a role for harm reduction. In my opinion, there is currently enough evidence to develop theories. Theories allow a deductive rationale where double-blind randomized control trials can be applied to determine cannabis dosage, safety, and efficacy. When it comes to proving that cannabis works as medicine, scientific studies are well on their way toward the finish line. Unfortunately, government regulators are lagging. Delaying rescheduling or descheduling of cannabis ignores the science. What do you think? Is this the straw that finally breaks the government regulators' back? Will we finally change the status of cannabis under the Controlled Substances Act? I think a seventh grader would say yes. This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand with High at 9 News.
Well, I would vote for that seventh grader then, Dr. Talleyrand.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you for that story, Dr. Talleyrand. It's a shame. It's not going to pass, all because government bureaucracy.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to break the camel's back, but I do think that this is a step in the right direction, and I'm probably going to need like at least another 150 more studies like this before people really start to listen.
And we need somebody in power to personally benefit from it.
Yeah, I'm excited because we are halfway there. We know that it works. I mean, we're seeing that it works, right? We just need to figure out what it is that's actually working, what combination of ingredients and how much dosage do we need to give to get the effects that we're looking for. So we're halfway there. Research is progressing.
Yeah.
It's
Dr.
been 20 years.
Is this the kind of study that they would actually want, though? Would this be considered a clinical study?
No, because this is if you look at the phase studies, they look at studies phase 1, 2, 3, 4, progressively doing clinical studies. This is sort of out of order. This is phase 4. It's the last study. Usually you don't put a product out to the market without studying it first, but cannabis sort of did it backwards. The product's already out in the market, right? It's already being used. So that's why we have to use our observational approach to see how it's working, to come back and start doing the phase 1, 2, 3 like they're used to.
I think the starting point with cannabis studies would be LD50 studies to determine the toxicity of cannabis. That's usually what they start with other substances. And then that would quickly show that cannabis is not neurotoxic and in fact has an LD50 and the lethal dose at which 50% of those consuming it die. It's so high that you can't even possibly get enough cannabis into your body through regular smoking or ingestion in order to die. So it's one of the safest therapeutically active substances known to humanity. And we need studies to make that clear.
LD50 studies have already been done for THC and CBD, right? And they're done on animals usually. And so you have to extrapolate that data and look to convert it to humans. But humans are already taking it in very high doses and they're not dying. So, like I said, the observational study is already telling us that hypothesis is clear.
And those studies would really simplify subsequent studies because then they don't have to worry about cannabis killing anybody.
Dr. Talleyrand, I hear you when you say, this is common sense. This is how no one's dying. It's out in the marketplace, yada, yada, hypothesis, this and that. I don't think Congress has ever heard the word hypothesis, and I think their little minds would explode at the idea of common sense. This is already out in the marketplace and people aren't dying from it. So how do we get around that? How do you get to the phase 1, the phase 2s, and the phase 3s that they need?
Well, first you use your study, your powers of observation to develop a theory or a hypothesis, and then you go forward with the study to prove the hypothesis. So now that we see that cannabis improves quality of life, figure out what dosage, how much, what they're getting, and apply the study. It's a simple process. It just needs to get going.
And what are the barriers there? Just money? Getting people to fund these studies?
Scheduling's the barrier, because in order to do phase 1, 2, and 3 studies, you need to dictate how much the patient is taking, and you can't dictate that they take a federally illegal drug. So it's the scheduling that's stopping it.
Well, what about the DEA approved ones that like Sue Sisley did? Like, is that how you get around that?
Sue Sisley did a prospective study for PTSD. Yeah, so that's basically how you get around doing that. The only problem is Sue Sisley didn't like the weed that she got from the government.
Right.
Of course she didn't, because it's trash. It's worse than Colorado weed.
Right. Because in her powers of observation, she saw that the community was not using that level of cannabis. Mm-hmm. And so she wanted to use what the community was using, but the DEA only had what they had. They didn't have what the community had.
They squashed that. Exactly. Oh, man.
Well, they're trying to fix it by allowing other people to grow cannabis outside of the farm in Mississippi. But, it's bureaucracy. It takes a long time.
Lots of bureaucracy, and, probably not the right genetics that are going to be produced either in the first place, or the right cultivators even to really maximize the production of those. So I'm willing to bet that we're going to be screwed on top of screwed.
Well, meanwhile, I'm having a great time observing. It's been very good.
Yeah,
good information out there.
Yeah, 100%, Dr. Talleyrand, and it still continues to give us something to talk about here. So thank you so much for covering that today. We appreciate all of your information and knowledge. And coming up next, he's back from wrestling tigers. That's right. This is Mr. Omar Figueroa, who not only does jujitsu but also does it in the courtroom, and apparently he did it in the Serengeti. That's right. He's a Ganjier, and this is Mr. Omar Figueroa.
Thank you, Jason. Happy Friday, everyone. My story is from MJ Biz Daily. The headline is, Curaleaf may be the next marijuana MSO to list on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Curaleaf Holdings hopes to be the next cannabis multi-state operator to join TerrAscend on the Toronto Stock Exchange, TSX, in a bid to tap a wider investor pool. The news, first reported by Cultivated, was tucked in a shareholder meeting notice filed by the New York-based MSO last week. In connection with the proposed listing of the subordinate voting shares of Curaleaf Holdings, Inc. on the Toronto Stock Exchange, the company wishes to implement a reorganization of its U.S. cannabis assets, the filing reads. The first step is soliciting consent from shareholders to a list of proposed indenture amendments, which include redefining terms such as asset sales and change of control. TerrAscend began trading on the TSX on July 4th after restructuring its business so it could list on the exchange. The move is already bearing fruit. Jason Wild, the executive chair of TerrAscend, tweeted on July 13 that the company was no longer a restricted stock at Morgan Stanley, a move that allows the investment bank's customers to freely trade TerrAscend shares on the TSX. In November, Curaleaf CEO Matt Darin told MJ Biz Daily in an interview that the company was investigating its options to list on a larger exchange. I think there's a path potentially to uplist to the TSX, which would be an improvement in liquidity and availability of at least some institutional investors to purchase our stock, he said. We're having all of those conversations, and ultimately, we want to figure out the best opportunity for liquidity being accessible to the larger investor base. Curaleaf currently trades over the counter as CURLF and on the Canadian Securities Exchange as CURA. The story is Curaleaf may be the next marijuana MSO to list on the Toronto Stock Exchange. My take, I did some research, and currently the Curaleaf over-the-counter stock is down close to 5% from today's opening value, down from a high of 50 back in 2018. Similarly, the Canadian Securities Exchange stock is also down close to 5% from its opening value at 4.47, down from a high of 21.25 back in February 2021. Apparently, this news of a potential uplisting has not been greeted with great enthusiasm by investors. If Curaleaf thinks institutional investors are going to jump on their stock with an uplisting to the Toronto Stock Exchange, its C-suite needs to stop drinking so much blended Canadian whiskey, which violates the first rule of drinking I learned at Yale: don't mix hard liquor. The C-suite would have a much clearer perspective if they dropped neurotoxic alcohol and went California sober. As the old saying goes, God created cannabis, man manufactures alcohol. Who do you trust more? This is Omar Figueroa, lawyer, publisher, and Ganjier instructor, reporting from Sonoma County, California, the traditional territory of the Pomo, Miwok, and Wapo nations, for High at 9, high noon Eastern.
Whew. Oh man.
Gave me chills with that one.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like for them to do this late in the game, they must be in need of desperate cash flow.
That's right.
Isn't everybody?
I mean, everybody is, but like this is like they should have done this years ago.
They're glad that they didn't. They can get the capital they need now.
I mean,
I'm surprised that they weren't already trading on the TSX.
That's part of my point.
Yeah.
That is part of my point, Rico, right there. Exactly right.
But it's offering them a lifeline. It's the perfect timing.
What point, Jason Beck? I'm so confused.
All right. Well, Gretchen, I mean, there's a lot of things we can't do.
I love how the flip-floppers are just sitting right
There's
next
a lot
to
of
each other.
things.
Y'all
There's a
should
lot
just
of
start playing a game of musical chairs. Both of you just start flip-flopping around. What the hell was that?
Slides, baby. Slides.
Oh,
Slides.
man.
Oh, my God.
Like
But I do love Omar. I love every day you give us life lessons from Yale. It's my favorite thing.
They involve drinking, don't they?
No, but
So no Long Island iced tea at Yale.
Just beer. Just beers.
Shout out to Yale.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got to wake up the next day and attend class. So if you're like mixing hard liquor, you're going to have a brutal headache.
But you know what? If you're in your dorm and you're day trading Curaleaf stock right now, you winning.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know about winning, but
my stock tip for Curaleaf stock is short it.
Yep.
Big time.
Yep. I say short all the cannabis stocks. Short them all. That's my opinion.
I'm tall.
Yeah, that's all right. You know, you can duck though. You know what I'm saying? So you can get a little shorter.
I never ducking.
I bet. Yeah, right.
My curve sometimes, but never duck. Never duck.
God.
How much money can these guys really get from doing this? Is it really of benefit to raise money?
You have access, like millions of people trade on the TSX.
There's a
I get it, but
report every
pot
minute.
Like momentum swings on there. You're going to go up with different groups, and you won't be directly correlated with the U.S. market.
You know what I'm willing to bet. I'm willing to bet that they're doing this move because of a swing like that, because it's going to keep on dropping, and then safe banking is going to pass in the fall, and there's going to be a major uptick, and then their stock is going to go up like crazy, and they're going to get all of this money rush in, and it's going to be a big snatch and grab, and then they're going to file for bankruptcy or something, and just
a bunch of people are going to be mad.
Yep. Exactly. Everyone's going to get shorted, and everyone is going to be disappointed. Watch this, Gretchen. I'm giving you a little future prediction.
I love your predictions because they always come true.
They always do. We all know.
I know.
The West Hollywood sage has spoken.
Oh man, you know we have one more story today that I'm going to cover, and I do want to thank my 80-year-old aunt. She texted me this story this morning.
Nana.
Oh, yeah. You're going to love this one. She was like, I really want to hear about this story today. And where did it go? Oh, here we go.
Your Nana listens to us?
Yeah, she watches us every day.
She's a triple OG.
You should. I'll read you some of the texts that she sends me too about the show. You will love these texts.
She be wildin'.
Yeah.
I hope she likes me.
Yeah, she does. She does like you. She's a conservative.
She don't like white girls though.
Yeah, no, stop it.
Well, nobody does.
Jason, why don't you bring them colored girls home?
Oh God. New York bound 7,000-pound weed hauls shows a growing black market. That's right. One shipment was disguised as camera equipment, another as shiitake mushrooms. But when law enforcement cracked open crates to look closer, they discovered thousands of pounds of marijuana worth tens of millions of dollars. The Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics has twice this year caught massive caches of illegal weed packaged in trucks heading to New York and New Jersey. On Wednesday, authorities raided a warehouse in Oklahoma City being used as a distributor hub for marijuana trafficking, seizing 7,000 pounds of marijuana worth almost $28 million. That followed a similar operation in April when they stopped about 7,000 pounds going in the same direction. Mark Woodward, a spokesperson for the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics, said activity in this state has soared. Excuse me, as criminals are taking advantage of cheap land and legal loopholes to profit from the illegal trade. In a quote, on any given day, there are shipments of marijuana going from Oklahoma farms to the black market all over the U.S., he said. New York is particularly enticing for the illegal cannabis business. That's particularly because of the problematic rollout of legal adult use cannabis, with critics saying excessive regulations and a complicated licensing process have stymied legitimate efforts. Illegal dispensaries have popped up all over the state, with New York City Mayor Eric Adams estimating the number operating in the Big Apple alone was about 1,500 in February. The state, meanwhile, has issued more than 200 licenses, but only lists about 20 open dispensaries. In June, the state's Department of Taxation and Finance Office of Cannabis Management inspected 33 storefronts in New York, Ithaca, and Birmingham, seizing at least 1,000 pounds of illicit cannabis worth over $11 million, according to Governor Kathy Hochul. And last week, New York police and state tax agents raided dispensaries in Lower Manhattan, and more recently, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg reached an agreement to ban 11 stores, mostly on the Upper West Side, from selling illegal cannabis products. For all New York's efforts, authorities still don't have a good sense of where the weed is coming from. Cannabis sold legally in the state is typically grown within the borders and is subject to extensive regulations, driving up costs for cultivators and consumers alike. Oklahoma, though, has emerged as one of the simplest places to grow the crop. It legalized medical cannabis in 2018, and licenses to sell cost just $2,500. The regulatory framework is also less stringent than in other states, and that's encouraged growers to move from places like California and Nevada, among the first to legalize adult use cannabis use, to Oklahoma, a trend Woodward said the state continues to see. The state has more than 9,000 licensed cannabis farms by the end of 2021, exceeding the number in California, according to the New York Times. And the amount got so high that Governor Kevin Stitt signed a moratorium on new growing, processing, and dispensing licenses last year, which will run until August of 2024. And voters also rejected the legalization of adult use cannabis back in March. And the state's legislature tried to intervene further this year by imposing stricter limits on who could obtain medical marijuana cards, on how much THC the compound in cannabis gets you high, yada, yada, yada. And in a quote, as illegal grow operations and bad actors continue to be the primary issue facing the industry, it is unwise to repeal changes designed to curb the participation in the market in exchange for improvement to other areas of the state's program, he wrote in his veto of the bill. Oklahoma's Bureau of Narcotics is working with the state counterparts in New York and other states, as well as the Federal Drug Enforcement Agency, to clamp down on the illegal trafficking, said Woodward. But he said they're confronting the illicit activity every day. And in a final quote, we're either raiding a farm or a warehouse and shutting it down, he said. It's really a constant battle against these criminal organizations. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. Oklahoma, New York, Man, it's just half the distance to New York from Oklahoma, so it's like half the risk in shipping your weed out there. What do you guys think about this?
The trap wins again.
The trap definitely wins again. That is for sure.
You want to talk about a not news story? Here you go. Knock yourself out.
What do you mean, not news story?
This is Nana's, though.
This is 7,000 pounds of weed.
I appreciate it, Nana.
See,
that's
I told
one
you.
they caught.
Mm-hmm.
You making it not like you now.
She's going to be disappointed in you, Gretchen, that you don't have any
I'm
comment.
sorry.
She was really excited to hear what you had to say.
Oh, suck it.
I'm
All
just
right.
saying.
You want to know what I have to say? I
Yeah.
can't believe New York's so excited about some Oklahoma weed. Come on, people.
They got to be excited about
Well,
something.
I mean, they need some
That's
mids.
something else.
They need some mids out there. Not everyone's spending $100 on an eighth, Gretchen.
What they say? 7,000 pounds was worth what? $3 billion.
I thought they said 24 million or 28 million dollars.
Lord.
Yeah, that's what I said too. I was like, get out of here. But
You're like, I wish it was worth that.
man, yeah, $28 million. They said.
There's more ineptitude coming from the legal enforcement, the law enforcement in New York cannabis.
Mm-hmm. There's lots of
the dime bags. Maybe it is worth $28 million.
Man, that's a lot of dime bags to sell, bro. That's a lot of transactions to get caught up by selling.
That's right.
Hey, you can stretch that zip though.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Street premium.
I'm curious how Oklahoma is gathering their products and moving it out of state. Is it through medical growers and small co-ops, or is it the larger growers?
I think it's a lot of these medical licensed grows, and they're just, you know what I mean, just bootlegging it and shipping it out.
Doing what the trap do.
Oklahoma allows you to grow 6 plants, flowering 6 plants.
That's for
vegetating,
that's for personal.
Possess 8 ounces.
That's for personal home grow, not for licensed cultivations. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, this is. I'm willing to put money that this is coming from licensed cultivations out there. There's a number of them out there, and we've reported that the sheriff's department has said that they have active investigations on over 1,000 cultivation facilities in the state of Oklahoma that are currently licensed.
They've been watching.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But until they drop that hammer.
If you see some random trailer or some random truck just sitting outside your grow, no, you're probably being investigated if you're in Oklahoma.
Just saying. And thank you all for joining us for another episode of High 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our super fans showing love and getting your comments live on the big screen, and the live audience members and online supporters catching us across all media platforms, tuning in for the conversation on daily headlines of cannabis. To our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety and perspective and your respected opinions to the table. Our production team, Cloud Media Partners, House of Fuego, The Vortex, all our sponsors keeping the lights on and AV struggles to a minimum. And of course, the lovely Jaja Simone holding us down on the other platforms too. Thank you, Jaja. To the haters, I hope you put another 100 down on safe banking passing and your AC in your house breaks down and you can't get it fixed till Monday. As always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason that we show up every single day to read these headlines. We love you. It's been Friday, July 21st, 2023. The show is over. You've all been blessed with today's top headlines. Omar Figueroa, you leave us with a little intention for the weekend.
Stay copacetic and enjoy your California sobriety.
What about nothing about wrestling lions, huh?
Oh, go to Tanzania. It's incredible. I love it.
I want to hear about this, man. I want to hear about this. Did you get high out there too?
No, they have a full-blown drug prohibition. But interestingly, we visited the Hadza hunter-gatherers, and they were getting high when we went to visit them.
Yes. Were they smoking weed?
Was it Bammer?
What were they on?
Tobacco, European style.
Don't want to smoke no Bammer weed.
Oh boy.
I wonder how long they've been doing that, whether this is a long-term habit or something relatively new.
I think it's relatively new, and that's why they engage in trade with the outside world in order to get the green buds, or in order to get cannabis.
I would love to hear this story, Omar. Let's rap about it.
Sounds like all those Oklahoma shippers just found a new market space, Omar.